Had the front end hiked up, looked like a great pass, but then had to abort mission. Coast through at a 4:54.9 at 114. Another machine new to the PDRA Tour here on the left-hand side of the racetrack. That's Blake Housley. Wild-looking Willies. And Cam Clark on the right-hand side out of Reidsville, North Carolina, the D&T Motorsports 69 Camaro. Cumberland Farm and Auto. Big old Pat Musey power plant underneath the hood scoop of that machine. And one of those guys that can surprise you. He's knocked down some of the biggest names in the game when it comes to first round of eliminations. Right now, just trying to get solidly qualified into this field.
Yeah, how about Blake Housley here on the Summit side with the Willies? First time we've seen him on tour here in 2023. Did some testing earlier on in the day, and now he comes up here in Q1 trying to put this race car in a very competitive Pro Nitrous field. Cam Clark, as Scotty was talking about, has been known to take down heavy hitters, make upsets happen. When you roll up to Cam Clark in any round of elimination, you can never count him out. Very good on the tree. The car normally goes A to B, and it's guaranteed to run a solid number. It might not be the fastest car out there. Cam goes to the other end. Pair is set, 3 fires, they're out and away. Hike of the front end of the air for Blake Housley. He goes over towards the wall, clicks it off early, 375, 201 the speed for Cam Clark, the Reidsville, North Carolina fabricator out of D&T Motorsports. Blake coast on through at 429 at 130. Early numbers for Blake were somewhat solid, but like I said, the car started to just push over to that left side retaining wall, and that was enough for Blake to say, hey, we'll be back tomorrow for Q2 and give it another shot then.
So that'll bring up a pair of first-gen Camaros. Left-hand side of the racetrack, Jackie Sloan, the Sloan boys out of Milan, Michigan. 69 model. Cox Trucking, Mullins Auto Parts, Hoosier Tire. Got a Pat Musey mill underneath the hood scoop. On the right-hand side, Mike Achenbach, the deep purple 69 Camaro for Canvas Plus MJA Installations. He's out of Wind Gap, Pennsylvania. WS Construction Pro Boost. WS Construction Pro Boost, we need you to the staging lanes, please, for Q1. Pro Boost, we need you to the staging lanes at this time for Q1, please. Jackie Sloan missed being in the season opener field by only 7 thousandths of a second down at Galata Motorsports Park. Looking for a little redemption here at Virginia Motorsports Park.
You know, and Mike Achenbach, who really had a good season last year. We've seen some big numbers out of the car. Sort of at the beginning of the season, but with performance from last year compared to 2023 right now. So Achenbach looking to turn things around here. Nice, solid run for Mike Achenbach. The numbers on the top end scoreboard, 371.7. 209, and look at Jackie Sloan, 372.2, 202 the speed. Nice run on both of those race cars, and guaranteed we're going to see drivers go into the 60s, but look at this speed. Mike Achenbach, 209.33, and that just goes to show how much horsepower that Achenbach has in that Chevrolet Camaro.
So here come the next two, Derek. Brian Schrader on the right-hand side, the Robert Hayes Motorsports 2017 Corvette. MGP rods, diamond pistons on board that machine. And Dane Wood, left side of the racetrack out of Chesapeake, Virginia. Donnie and Julie Wilson helping out on that Purvis Ford Mustang they call Escobar. Wood came on strong at the end of last season, and it was right here at Virginia Motorsports Park where he started coming on strong. So he's looking for a great lap right here. And as Derek just said, Achenbach lays down a 371.7. So Dane Wood trying to drop it down into the 60s maybe.
Obviously, the weather conditions today were, it was warm here at Virginia Motorsports Park. And the sun was out, the track temperature was up. That's gone away. And it's starting to cool off. So now these cars are going to start to make the horsepower, get a hold of the racetrack. And you're going to see some nice stellar runs as we go on through the night.
All right, pre-stage bulbs lit as they start to roll into the bottom bulb. Schrader in. Here we go.
Drag race here, top end 370 at 201 for Brian Schrader. That's going to be a new #1 qualifying effort. Dane Wood followed him through at 376.5 in the Purvis Ford Mustang. Over 197 on speed for Dane. That's going to slide him into the #5 spot. And I know they've got the horsepower to go low 70s for Dane Wood. They're just creeping up on the tune-up. And they made some okay runs, per se, in testing today. And they wanted to make sure that car went A to B there, and they did. So as we go through this qualifying session, you're going to start to see these quicker cars starting to come out and take on the racetrack, and this is one guy you can never count out.
Yeah, Freddie Scriba out of Millersville, Maryland. The Scriba Welding Sorcerer 1969 Camaro with the big Pat Musey horsepower underneath the hood scoop. And I tell you what, Derek, that was a pretty stellar run for Brian Schrader and the Robert Hayes team. They were pretty pumped up. I was watching the crew as they walked away from the starting line. 370 is a great lap for that team.
Yeah, we'll see how long it holds. As Freddie is definitely a heavy hitter on the Northeast All Pro Mod Association. Runs with us full time here in the PDRA series. And like you said, they're a team that can make a horsepower. They know how to go A to B and throw a big number on the top end scoreboard. The welder out of Maryland. Single run, all eyes will be on the summit side of the racetrack here. Look at the wheels up, believe, and 367.7. 205.13 miles an hour. And we talked about Freddie Scriba, and there it is. Huge numbers. First driver to go into the 60s tonight. And there's your new #1 qualifier for the Maryland-based Chevrolet Camaro and Freddie Scriba. See how long that holds.
And that's going to bring up Ed Burnley on the left-hand side of the racetrack out of Pasadena, Maryland. The Ironman 1969 Camaro for Southwind Refrigeration. And Chris Reaney on the right-hand side out of Hickory, North Carolina. The Silver Bullet 1969 Camaro, ATI Performance Products. Chris's Automotive, L&R Auto Sales, and that Charlie Buck-powered machine. Burnley utilizing Pat Musey horsepower. Charlie Buck for Chris Reaney on the right side. WS Construction Pro Boost. WS Construction Pro Boost, we need you.
So Chris Reaney comes up, Ed Burnley right alongside him. I think you're going to see a stellar side-by-side drag race out of these two. Going back into testing earlier today, watch Chris Rini when he had an aborted run. His 60-foot numbers were stellar. Very strong down low. So this car has the potential to go quicker than 367.7, currently being held by Freddie Scribe, who we've just seen run down the summit side. Burnley, that car's been hanging the front end high in the air. So if he can keep it tied down to the racetrack, Burnley could be a force to be reckoned with, going to the number one spot as well. All right, pre-stage bulbs are lit. Burnley set the Ironman Chevrolet's in. Reeney's out of the gate. Here they go. Top of the racetrack, 371.9. 202 the speed for the Silver Bullet bow tie. Chris Reeney. Ed Burnley at 372. 200 miles an hour down the left-hand side of the racetrack. And neither driver takes over that top spot. They go to number 4 and 5 here in qualifying. So that just goes to show Freddie's run was very stout.
Absolute final call for WS Construction Pro Boost, presented by Tie Drive and P2 Contracting. Final call for Pro Boost to the lanes. Mincer Motorsports Pro Street, presented by AFCO. You are on standby. Pro Street, you are on standby. Next pair completing the burnout process on the right-hand side of the racetrack. Billy Albert out of Withville, Virginia, the El Chapo 1969 Camaro for structural mechanical. Left side, Travis Harvey out of Burlington, North Carolina, the 2017 Corvette for Red Top Motorsports. He utilizes Sonny's racing engines underneath his hood scoop. Travis, of course, doing double duty. Pro Nitrous and Pro Boost. If I'm not mistaken, Cade Varner designed the paint scheme there on Travis Harvey's machine. Beautiful looking Corvette.
Well, Travis had that big run in testing that we've seen today. So that's why I'm feeling that Travis Harvey can go to the top here. The tile layer and the engine builder, side by side. Over the years, Travis Harvey has cut his teeth in big money bracket racing, the South, and racking up a few wins at the big dog events. Now he's got quite the program here in 2023 doing double duty. There's a Corvette on the left, the Camaro on the right, old school, new school, bow ties. Here we go. Harvey's on a run. He sets the front end down. Top end, 368.6 at 202. Billy Albert's going to go 538, coasting on down at only 90 miles an hour. But we talked about someone taking a shot at Freddie Scribe, and you see it right there, Virginia Motorsports Park. Travis slides to number 2 by 1/100th of a second.
Man, two big names in the category up next. On the right-hand side, Ricky Smith out of King, North Carolina, the Parkway Ford 22 model Mustang. PD Fleet, Boss Budding, Stockseth Racing. He's got Pat Musey power underneath the hood scoop, 974 cubic inches of it. And right next door, another Pat Musey customer, Jay Cox. Cox driving the Pumpkin out of Smithfield, North Carolina for Butner Construction, Smithfield Collisions, RJ Race Cars. Jay was our #1 qualifier at our first event of the season down at Galot Motorsports Park.
Ricky held the top spot at Galot for how many sessions, and then Jay Cox hit a home run and slid right in there. And that was a big statement on a Ricky Smith, who committed to the tour here this year in the PDRA and running that 974 combination out of Pat Musey's shop. In the past, Ricky ran a smaller motor combination. And you know what? We're committed to running with the fastest of these race cars this year. We're going to step our motor program up, and they did in a big way. We've seen that in testing at Galot. We've seen it in qualifying at Galot. And now he's trying to continue that qualifying momentum right here at BMP this weekend.
Mincer Motorsports Pro Street will take you to the staging lanes. Mincer Motorsports Pro Street will take you to the staging lanes, please.
So Ricky's in. There's Jay. Three fires. Ford and Chevy out of the gate, going to battle. Top in. 370 to the 368. Ricky Smith gets to the finish line at 206 miles an hour. Jake Cox was right there with them. Ricky goes to the #2 spot by 0.006 of a second. Jay Cox to #4. Freddie Scriba still #1. So it just goes to show really how strong that run was early on in the session.
Yeah, but we're getting ready to have two of the biggest names in the category. They were your final round at our season opener at Galot Motorsports Park, and that's Tommy Franklin and Jim Halsey. Franklin on the left-hand side, the Jungle Rat Camaro out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. Franklin Electric SmartCom Home Technologies and Rogers Automotive on board that machine. On the right-hand side, Jim Halsey out of Havre de Grace, Maryland, the Daddy Shark 68 Camaro. For Schweitzer Dynamics, Fulton Competition Engines, Purnell Body Shop, and Yellow Bullet Nationals.
Now, Jim Halsey has done something that no other driver here in the PDRA has ever done, and that's win as many consecutive championships as he has been able to accomplish over the years. Halsey, of course, running #1 on the side of that Chevrolet Camaro on the right-hand lane right now. And Tommy Franklin, he's a former world champ. He's in his hometown race, owns the racetrack here this weekend to that family. For Franklin Electric, SmartCom Home Technologies, they're looking for a monster outing. They want to go to a final round. They want to hold the 660 man at the end of the day. Jim, well, trying to rack up another championship. And if you've seen that video that dropped from React 104 just a few days ago, it was a pretty cool piece featuring Jim Halsey. A guy that you think back, and I didn't think about this, Jim Halsey's been running in Pro Mod since the early 90s. And for all of these years, Jim's success came in the last four years. And that's when they started winning chips and being the car to beat.
Yeah, Franklin, they've done a lot of changes over the winter and look better than they have in quite a long time. So they start to roll into the pre-stage and stage bulbs, and here we go.
Oh, watch this one. Finish line 366.9, 205 miles an hour. Tommy Franklin stayed right there alongside the world champ at 369.206. But there he is. Jim Halsey takes over the #1 qualifying spot in that last-ditch effort here in Q1 and takes it away from Freddie Scriba by 0.008 of a second. Tommy Franklin goes to #5 with the 369.9 and 206 charge.
So now we're going to move over to WS Construction of Pro Booze, presented by P2 Contracting and Tide Drive. And one of our first ones out here, Dustin Nesloni on the right-hand side, Team Galot. And Dustin had a great outing at Galot Motorsports Park while we were there for our season opener.
really the rent-a-ride program at a Galat, and Justin Nesloni doing the driving duties this weekend. Got a very stout operation, a lot of horsepower out of the Galat camp, and Dustin trying his hand behind the wheel here. Nice runs and testing. Now he comes up. Single here in Q1. Wow, big numbers, 361.6, 208 miles an hour, and it was just straight as a string, A to B for Dustin Nesloni.
Our next pair fire and head through the water box. David DeMarco on the left-hand side. Out of Andover, Massachusetts, the Beacon Electrical 69 Camaro for DMP Inc., DMC Racing, and New England Gear Polishing. On the right-hand side, Chuck Alls. Out of Mount Airy, Maryland, the Red Line Oil 68 Camaro for Brian Roche Racing Engines, Brad Anderson Engineering, and Hammer Superchargers. Chuck Alls was the first car on the outside looking in at our first stop on the tour. He went a 364.6 at Galat and did not make the show.
Insane. That build was extremely fast. We've seen a lot of teams, whatever they found over the offseason, I don't know if it was testing down there in Warmer State, Florida, and so forth, having the Pro Box. A lot of teams had a handle on their tune-up rolling into the first race of the year season. And teams that, Pat kind of ran well, stepped right up to the plate. So Dave DeMarco, Chuck Alls will battle it out here in Q1 under lights and Pro Boost. Stop bulbs are lit. Lights are down. Here we go. Alls doing some driving out there, and there's going cones every which way. Chuck Alls grabbed, I believe, the 330-foot cone, and it looks like the mile per hour and the ET cone got whacked as well. So it was like whack-a-mole out there.
He got them all.
60-foot cone, there they all went. So we started with 4 cones, and we have 1 remaining.
Well, we're going to be just a couple minutes here while we clean this one up.
New one's down, and I believe the cones here at VMP are put down with magnets.
Yeah.
They're not glued down. They don't tear cars up, and they don't, disintegrate like you normally see when you glue them down to the racing surface. So, Jimmy Brett jumps on the old John Deere. He'll go out and do his thing for a moment. We'll pick up the cones and throw them back down, and just as quickly as we can, we'll be back in action here in Pro Boost, round number 1 of qualifying.
Mentor Motorsports Pro Street, we've called you to staging. Mentor Motorsports Pro Street presented by AFCO. We need you to the staging lanes at this time, please. Don't forget, coming up here at Virginia Motorsports Park, May 11th through the 13th, the Shakedown. And they've really revised the run categories, and Pro Mods will go the full quarter mile. That's May 11th through 13th. Quentin Matheny and the boys in the 590 cars will be down here. It's going to be a good time. So mark your calendars for May 11th through the 13th here at Virginia Motorsports Park for the Shakedown. So, Derek, I knew I wasn't losing my mind. The car that Dustin Nesloni sits in the #1 spot at right now, it was at Galat, but they were just testing it. So they made some impressive numbers, some impressive laps in testing. Well, that may be the case. But I knew I'd seen that car already on tour this season. So still cleaning up out there. Jimmy Bradshaw and the PDRA officials, VMP officials, making sure the racetrack's safe and ready to go back. All right, racing surface ready to go. So we will be back up and running here now. So William Brown the third. The longshoreman out of Chesapeake, Virginia, in the Blue Magic 1969 Camaro for Brown Motorsports, Pro Line, Fuel Tech, and Brown Racing. He'll be on the right-hand side, and Scott Walgus. The left-hand side, the Smokies Garage 2019 Camaro. Remax, Clark Construction, and Fraser Asphalt on board that Smokies Garage machine on the left-hand side of the racetrack. Neither of these drivers made it into the field at Galat. Both have done testing in between races, trying to figure out where they can gain a little bit of speed from. Walgus on the left, Brown on the right.
Walgus and Brown. Now Scott's going to be clicking it off before the 60-foot mark, and it's William Brown at 3.708, 212 miles an hour for the Blue Magic Chevrolet.
Left side of the racetrack, that's James Beadling out of Olmsted Falls, Ohio. The Kelling Equipment 2018 model Camaro for SSI Industries. And Scott Lang on the right-hand side out of Charlotte, North Carolina. The AML Motorsports 2018 model Camaro. Pro Line, Fuel Tech, and KAB on board his machine. Again, neither of these cars qualifying at the season opening event. Looks like some issues there for the Lang machine on the right side. He finally gets it in reverse. Pro Charger for Lang on the right side. Roots Supercharger for James Beadling on the left side of the racetrack. Keys are done. They start to edge up towards the top ball.
Beadling with a new car that's working out here. Ohio. Scott Lang. Got a turnkey race car for a very good racing operation. Look at WS Construction Camp. Seen some nice runs on the Scott Lang before. set. Nice clean runs out of Bo. 3.656. 215 miles an hour for Scott Lang tonight. James Beetling trailed at 380, 198. And Scott, by 0.04 of a second, is going to go to number 2. It just shows you how strong Dustin Neslony's run was. And the Galat Camaro, first out of the session at 3.616.
That'll bring out Kurt Stedding on the left-hand side of the racetrack out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The P2 Contracting 2020 Camaro for YO Motorsports tie drive, P2 Paving, NGK spark plugs, and Robert Abbott oranges. And Bubba Green on the right-hand side. Pretty familiar face helping out that team, and Scotty Cannon. You notice him up on the starting line, back and giving direction to back up to the Corvette.
I know we talked about it the first race of the season, but that's awesome.
That was really cool.
He's a legend in pro modified drag racing, and back out here turning wrenches and calling the shots in these race cars. And you can't have anybody more special in your corner than Scotty. But you've got to make Bubba pretty confident as a driver to know that that car is prepared by Scotty Cannon, Kurt Stedding. Well, you look in this corner.
Yeah.
Yourself as well.
Absolutely.
YO Motorsports, tie drive, and you put those two combinations together, and you've got one bad hot rod.
Well, we talked about it on PDRA Live this week. Kurt only came in to the Galat race in the number 15 spot. Not what we were expecting after getting the full attention of Todd Tutterow, but he's looking for a little redemption here at Virginia Motorsports Park this weekend as they bump into the top ball.
Bubba Green pedals it, tries to get the car to recover. That's not going to happen. 366 at 207 miles an hour for P2 Contracting. Nice run out of Kurt Stedding's machine. Look at the reaction time. 006 to an 11. They are killing the tree, and I know we talked about it today, but you went over in PDRA Live last night, and you look at the reaction times these drivers were cutting in the professional categories at Galat, and it will absolutely blow your mind. It'll make your head spin.
Yeah, we'll go over those numbers here in just a little bit, but what a run there. Good run for Kurt Stedding. We'll see how long it holds up. We have some more heavy hitters getting ready to roll through the water box right now. Right side of the racetrack is going to be Derek Ward out of Friendship, Maryland, the 69 model Camaro with the big old screw blower hanging out of the hood. And Rob Cox, left side, out of Carlton, Michigan, the Cox Trucking 2017 Camaro. Type A Motorsports, Modern Racing, Elite Motorsports, Corrigan Oils, and Noonan Race Engineering on board that machine. Liberty's Gears Extreme Pro Stock will take you to the staging lanes. Liberty's Gears Extreme Pro Stock will take you to the staging lanes at this time, please.
Rob Cox is a team that they've worked with their program over the last season and a half. And they've continued to build on last year's performance. We've seen nice runs out of Cox last year. Going into 2023, I know that team was looking for a winner's circle. So Cox has the pre-stage bulb lit. Ward, time. He's there. He starts to move into the stage beam. three fires. Here we go. Clean runs on the both race cars. The scoreboards 3.720. 203 miles an hour to the 378, 180 charge to Derek Ward, who clicked it off early. That's going to put Rob Cox to number 5. Derek Ward goes to number 6. And we'll look at qualifying right now. Dustin Nesloni, number 1. Scott Lang's 2. Kurt Steddings 3. William Brown is 4. Rob Cox, Derek Ward. Sounds like your top 6. There's a few DQ runs on the list right now that we'll have to deal with as the at the end of the session. The fact that Tony went flying.
In our next pair, pulling up, Randy Weatherford on the left-hand side out of Danville, Virginia, the WS Construction 2021 Camaro. Pro Line, Pro Charger on board that machine. And on the right-hand side, Nova Joe Albright out of West Babylon, New York. The 69 Chevrolet Camaro owned by Fletcher Cox. Cox Racing, DeSoma Racing Engines. Shady Trail Ranch, Pro Charger, VP Race Fuel, and Glass Life Atlanta on board that machine on the right side of the racetrack.
You know, that's another thing you look at. I don't know if you guys have talked about it on PDRA Live, but the diversity that we see here at the PDRA from different backgrounds, different industries that race teams, owners, drivers come from. And you've got Joe Albright over there on the right side driving for Fletcher Cox, who we all know from the NFL. That's so cool. You have a guy out here, so involved in drag racing on this level. Loves Pro Mod. You could think, yeah, could he go top fuel racing? I'm sure. Could he be a pro stop? Yeah, I'm sure. We ain't very worked out. But he's right here. Pro Mod stop. All right. Will drive it out there. Top of the racetrack, the atomizer side scoreboard 365.8, 216 miles an hour. Big speed there. 364.208 for Randy Weatherford. That's going to be good enough for number 2. Down the summit side for WS Construction, Joe goes to number 4. And we've got drivers and teams swinging at that 361 number. It's coming up a little short.
Left side of the racetrack, the Jack and the Green stock 69 Camaro with Spencer Hyde behind the wheel, the $100,000 man. Summers Generators, Hyde Electric. Permanent paving on board his machine. And Jason Harris on the right side out of Pittsboro, North Carolina, the Party Time 69 Camaro for Performance Auto. Sometime Racing, Hoosier Racing Tire, and M&M Transmission. Walker Napa also on board that machine for Harris on the right side. He made some pretty impressive runs out here in testing today, as did Spencer Hyde. So we're about to see probably another low 60 side-by-side pass right here, maybe dip it down into the 50 range.
Anything's possible. And Spencer Hyde, you take it back, when he won the World Series, he started from the bottom spot. And he was up above, barely made the show. And up to work on race day. And that's the same way here. It doesn't matter where you qualify. Upsets happen. We've seen it time and time again. And the field spread between 16 drivers in the lot is 200 to the second. 64,000 to the second. Overall, that's awesome to see. That just shows you, number 1, number 15 also compete. You've got to stand up. Reaction time play a huge factor in that. So Jason Harris, Spencer Hyde, they bring their Camaros into the beam. Qualifier. Spencer Hyde towards the center line, shoots her out early. There's the number 361.2, 207 miles an hour in the Jack of the Greenstock Camaro. I'm not sure how Spencer Hyde kept it off the center line, but he did. 369 at 194, but Jason Harris goes to the top. Your new number 1 qualifier right there. But man, Spencer had his hands full, and he did not want to take his foot off that gas pedal. He was doing everything he could to get that car reined back in the center of the racetrack. And I thought for sure we were going to see cones flying again, and that would have been an unfortunate deal for Jason running that great number that he did. So Jason Harris, your number one qualifier for right now. That's two more drivers pulling into the water box.
All right, looks like we're going to take just a moment here to check out the racing surface. Jimmy Bradshaw and the crew out there making sure traction is optimal. What a lap right there by Jason Harris and the team. And Derek talked about the reaction times and how crucial they are at our first event at Galot Motorsports Park. And all of our pro categories combined, there were 18 00 winning reaction times. We're not talking about a bracket race. 00 winning reaction times, 18 of them in the first round, throughout eliminations. In Pro Nitrous alone, the first round of Pro Nitrous, out of 8 pairs, 6 first-round wins were with 00 reaction times. There were 4 perfect reaction times throughout eliminations, one of those being a loss. So our pro drivers showing up and showing out on the Christmas tree. Looks like they just about have things cleaned up out there ready to go. They're going to go down track and check things, make sure it's okay. All right, the command's given to fire the engines. Two Pro Charge machines pull through the water box. Left-hand side of the racetrack, that's Ken Cortuccio out of Wallingford, Connecticut. The serial killer, 1969 model Camaro. Eastside Auto Transport, Proline Racing, Mincer Motorsports, M&M Transmissions, Carmack. You name it, he's got it on that machine. And on the right-hand side, pulling double duty again here this weekend, Travis Harvey. Ball Ground, Georgia, the Galot Motorsports 69 Camaro, Pro Line Racing, Fuel Tech, VP Race Fuels, LAT Racing Oils. Travis was the number 2 qualifier at our season opener at Galot Motorsports Park. Ken Cortuccio qualified number 5 at that event. So these machines backing up, very capable of dipping down into the 50 range. Back up to the cruise to make sure everything's legit. Wheelie bar height. Show that their drivers in the tracks as they start to head towards the top ball.
Ken Cortuccio, Travis Harvey, 3:63.30. But look at the number out of Travis Harvey. There it is, 210 miles an hour, and he is your new number 1 qualifier. A stellar run out of Travis Harvey, the Carolina kid. Jason Harris gets bumped down to number 2, but that was a big, big run out of Travis and their entire team. Ken Cortuccio goes to number 4, no slouch whatsoever at 3:63.0, 204. But low ET, top speed, and Travis Harvey. Wow.
Liberty's Gears Extreme Pro Stock. Liberty's Gears Extreme Pro Stock. Extreme Pro Stock, we need you to the staging lanes, please. Our next pair up, Johnny Camp, left side of the racetrack, Melanie Salemi on the right. Camp out of Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania, the Hells Bells 69 Camaro for Tateman Electric Company, NGK Spark Plugs, and Hoosier Racing Tire. Salemi on the right-hand side. Ran the table like a lot in Motorsports Park. Was your #1 qualifier and won the event. She's out of Buffalo, New York. The 2019 Camaro. Ali Installations, Liberty's Gears, Union Race Engineering, Ross Pistons, NGK. Current world record holder in the category. And I tell you, there, Camp outran her in the final round, but he was 004 red at Galat. So
stellar side-by-side run. You're probably going to see it right here, and there should be a new #1 qualifier. As crazy as that sounds, 3:58.4. Huge run out of Travis, but Melanie and Johnny, they are known for just throwing monster lap times up. So what the Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania Camaro on the left side will take on Melanie Salemi, the only lady here in Pro Boost. Seen a cool video that React 104 put out on Melanie just the other day, and she talks a little bit about her, drives her to be one of the best out here. The driving duty very serious. 38-year-old office manager, family-owned business, back there in New York. And it's set to go. Tap into the racetrack, 368. Melanie had some issues, 206 miles an hour to the 3.607 in laps time. Johnny Camp, 206 the speed. So Johnny goes to #2. Melanie, car was down low, stellar. A rocket ship at the first 60 feet. Half track was still good, and then you could hear the RPMs. It looked like the car sounded like it just didn't shift at 368.206.
Well, I tell you, Derek, you heard her on the start line. She was banging the two-step before Johnny Camp even lit the stage bulb. So maybe something, she got rattled. I don't know. Maybe the car got a little hotter than it normally would.